Hi all, let's do some more Visual Basic. In this video I mainly want to cover a for loop. In order to do this, I couldn't figure out an easy way to do it inside of a form. So we're going to do it in a console application, which is good for you. It's good that you know a little bit about the console. You might end up working somewhere where you have to program to the console. I've walked into a few stores, gas stations and tire places and things like that, and all their order forms and things like that are still done on a console application. I bought a car a few years ago, and the woman at the dealer actually did all the financing on a console application. So they're still used. It's rare, but you'll still see them. You know, it's not that hard. Don't let it scare you away. So you don't have to be a genius at it. Just understand the basics. So let's see here. We'll start up Visual Studio. File, new project. And then we're going to start a console application. And that just gives you this text. It's just like one piece of paper. You can see there's no controls here. You don't have buttons and text boxes and things like that because we can't add that to a console application. The console application is like this thing, you know, it's just a plain screen. I have this one set up as white. It normally comes up as a black screen. Okay, so this is just our starter code. You know, we have a module. We'll talk more about modules later on. And then you can see here, here's our function. Spacing is optional. I just space it out so it's easier to see what's going on. And then here's number one. We're only going to add one line. I'm going to add this one line here. Put one line in here. And then we'll compile. And then we'll run it. And you can see it printed out hello. And then it automatically put this text here, press any key to continue. Our program, the one line that we added, is just says console and then a period, write. And then whatever we want to write to the screen, we put it in parentheses and quotes. Okay, so that's the first one. You can see that's pretty easy, right? Console.write puts text on the black screen. puts text on the console. Write does not move down one line. This right here. Okay, so next one we're going to use WriteLine. And we're only changing one line of code here. We'll compile, and then we'll run it. And you can see how WriteLine moved the text down. So it wrote hello to the screen and then did a carriage return like pressing the enter key. So this line is printed on a separate line. So there's WriteLine. It just depends on what you want to do. And then number 3 would be the one with the for loop. So we're adding this code to the console application. Let me run it and then we'll go over it. I think it'll be easier to understand if you see what it does. Compile and then run it. Okay, so you can see it did this WriteLine 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's inside of a loop. It keeps spinning around. You know, if we wanted to, we could have just put this in 5 times, right? It would have done the same thing. But in programming, what if you have to do that 1,000 times, you know, or if there's something that you're looking for and you got to loop through a whole bunch of items, you know. So that's the purpose of a loop. Okay, so to run through this, first part you should understand, we create an integer, call it num1, set num1 to 0. And then down here in the for loop, for starts the loop and next ends the loop, kinda. So here it says for num1 is equal to 1. So here we set it to 0. And then down here we're just saying, okay, now it's 1. WriteLine. So it does the WriteLine, and it says number is with the colon, and then we're using the ampersand and adding number 1 to the end of the line. Okay, so num1 is set to 1 here. So when we do ampersand num1, it adds 1 to the end of the line. Notice this space here. That's how we get a space here. Okay, and then we hit the next. Now next bumps number 1 up to 2, and then we do the console.WriteLine again, and it says number is, prints this out, and then adds num1 to the end of the line. Num1 is now 2, so it put 2 on here. Then it came down here and did next. Next bumped 2 up to 3. And then it did the console.WriteLine again. And it printed out number is. And added num1 to the end of the line. Num1 is now 4. And then it did next again. So it went up to 5. Did the WriteLine again. Number is. Printed out number is. Then num1 is now equal to 5. Added to 5. And then next came up and checked this and said, hey, it only said do it 1 to 5. So we hit the end and it finished the application here. A for loop is this section here. Now this is another one of those examples where I said VB is trying to make it easier, but actually they're making it harder to see what's going on. So how they do this and how they do this, that's kind of odd as compared to the other languages. It's less code, it's less typing. Okay. So that's the main one that I want you to understand from this video. It's just a for loop. Okay, so next one, it's basically the same thing, but I thought I'd throw this in so you could see it. We're saying num1 ToString dot ToString. First we'll run it. And then we'll compile it. And then we'll run it. So you can see it does the same thing. But what we're saying here is num1 is an integer. We'll change it to a string before you stick it on the end here. Take num1 as an integer, turn it into a string, turn it into a character. So I just thought I'd bring that up in case you're bumping into that in class. You know. That's the type of thing that you'll see in Java and C#. You know, they do stuff like that. And that's the last one. Okay, so I think we'll call our day there. See ya.